Why? Just why? At least it rolls nice. This is a Hyster forklift, and that's all I know about it. Well, I do know that it only has 3 wheels for some reason. It's painted this pretty shade of blue over the original yellow, and it's got a Flathead Continental 4-cylinder engine under the whatever in this area. That at least slightly interests me. We were told it ran somewhat recently. Okay. Why is this fuel filter on backwards, and why is it full of soup? Why is this? I know from years of experience that coolant is extra on forklifts, so we're not going to worry about that. This carburetor was rebuilt at some point, so I guess I got that going for me. Why is this fuel filter also backwards? The other thing I know about forklifts is brakes usually aren't a thing. This actually seems to maybe function. I don't know what year this thing was built. I do know this is largely General Motors electrical stuff. That's a GM alternator before the one-wire style we all know and love. This is a Delco distributor, at least I think it is. Looks like a Delco cap, but small. Doesn't have a window in it, and it's also cracked. Evan's already been in this distributor. He pulled the points out for a cleaning. We probably could have gotten new ones, but we didn't do that. Those actually do look really good. Yeah, it's not seized. Tom pointed out this cage has seen some stuff. It's bent, it's cracked. It looks like the steering column has been shoved into this dash too. This looks like the same dash my old one had. Someone has bypassed the mechanical fuel pump. We're running on an electric pump now, which seems to be dead until you crank the engine. Spoiler alert, it does crank over. It doesn't run, for obvious reasons. But all of a sudden, while it's cranking, fuel magically starts showing up in here. So I'm thinking either that fuel pump is wired to like some kind of oil pressure safety switch, or it's attached to the start side of the ignition switch for no reason at all. I almost can't believe this, but the battery over here is actually good. It had like 12.5 volts when we checked it. We did put a charger on it anyway, just to make sure. Making a points ignition work is not hard. What might be a little more challenging here, fuel system. See, there's good looking gas in this tank, but under that is some rusty horribleness, and that's currently what it's drawing in. First things first, I'm gonna flip that filter around the right way. I'm gonna unhook this one and run this line into a bottle. Then I'm gonna run the pump and see if we can purge the truly horrible looking stuff out and get to some fresh fuel. Now, in defense of whoever installed these little filters, they're not labeled, but I promise you this side is in and the side here on the cap is out. I don't know what that little bit of rubber in there is. Might have allegedly went to test the pump and shove more rusty nastiness into the top filter. This one has the little rubber piece too. Oh, it's not a piece of rubber. It's a magnet. I guess that makes sense. It catches the chunks. Can confirm this is a wiring issue. The pump and the cooling fan over there only come on when the engine is attempting to crank, whether the starter actually works or not, which is this other issue we'll talk about in a minute here. I powered the pump up with my power probe. It powered up the fan as well, and that was too much juice for the power probe to flow, so it just throws the breaker after a couple seconds. A lot of things starting to make sense here. Everything on this switch is totally wrong. This yellow wire is the starter trigger. This red wire is the fan, fuel pump, ignition coil, the entire ignition circuit basically. There's one other power wire that powers up the dash. I think it's this one, maybe? The yellow wire should probably be going to the start terminal, and I don't think either of these should be on the one labeled ground. Quick pro tip for you. If you're looking at one of these generic style ignition switches, whether it's the forklift style or car style or lawnmower style or whatever, the pin in the middle is typically your starter terminal. Pretty sure that's this. Yeah, notice it usually doesn't. This goes up to some resistor in the dash. Don't know what this is about. Pretty sure this is our battery supply wire, and there's something else hooked up with it as well. I don't want to go chasing all these wires. Only 2 of them really matter. Well, 3, I guess. If I did that right, this should be fuel pump and fan. And this should be starter, which it is. Oh boy. Pumped out almost an entire bottle of sun-kissed looking nasty fuel, and now we're pulling in clear stuff. Again, most of what's in the tank looks really good. I think transporting it over here just stirred up the sediment. Hopefully we can just ignore that moving forward and it'll be perfectly fine and cause no issues. Well, what's this? The consequences of my own actions? great. The starter issue has magically fixed itself. I think because the fan and the pump were on the same trigger circuit, it was dragging the voltage way down and it just wasn't enough to trigger the relay correctly. I didn't want to get into this carburetor, but it was wishful thinking that it would just magically be fine. It's just 6 screws for the top plate. I'll have to unhook this. This was actually a legit remanufactured carb at some point. Note the paint dot on the screw there. They've done studies, you know. 60% of the time, it works every time. And that float is seized, so this was never going to work anyway. Ew, good bit of that's water. Telling ya, sun-kissed. Ugh, awful. Just awful. Watch your eyes. Pulling out all the passageways and stuff. This guy was seized. It's still partially seized. In case this isn't obvious, there's been water sitting in this carb for a very long time. This is some kind of accelerator pump, but it's not actually hooked to any linkage at all. I don't know if it just works on vacuum. I don't know anything about anything, but what I do know is when there was fuel in there and I got this moving, it was just shooting out of this, which I'm pretty sure is the inlet. That means there's some kind of check valve down there that's stuck and then the outlet is totally clogged. I'm not going to worry about that. I mean, it's a forklift. How much accelerating is it going to do? There's actually a bowl drain on this thing, which is pretty cool. You can empty the bowl when it sits for a while and fills up with water and such, but you can't magically unseize all this crap through there. Anyway, it's looking pretty decent now. Not so much over here. This is still very bad. Oh, look at that. That's the inlet around that little screw and filter. That is horrifying. Got all the chunks out. All I had to do to get the float to move was widen those tangs right there ever so slightly. Happy with that. I'm gonna put this back together like it never happened. See what it do. That fuel still doesn't look all that good up here. Nothing like introducing a new leak. That should work. Okay. I think we're good. I did unhook that cable. Hopefully this will not flop in the way. Anyway, time to put the ignition back together. Now, I haven't actually pulled the points and condenser while I wasn't here. Luckily, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's a pair of holes here and a slot here for adjusting the points. And then the condenser goes on the small screw next to these two little tip things. See, the holder locks onto those. So now I've got the points in place. I brought this thing up on one of the cheeks. It's not there now. I kind of bumped it over to make sure they moved. Anyway, with the points closed, we should have ground here. We're always going to have ground here. But we should also have it here until the points are opened. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. Okay, weird stuff was happening. It's showing ground through that condenser, so I'm thinking it may not be any good. There is a path to ground, but it's not usually enough of a direct, uninterrupted path to ground to light off the little meter here. Anyway, as you can see, now that I've scrubbed the points some, there's ground there. And then when I open it, the ground goes away. Could be wrong, but pretty sure that condenser's bad. It looks just like the generic Chrysler one, so we'll have a spare here somewhere. Notice 3 of the wires are out of the cap. We do have the firing order listed right here, which is 1342. Cylinder 1 is going to be at the back of the machine here because the back of the engine is actually up front. This is our bell housing. There's the clutch in there attached to the gigantic differential at the front here, which drives this thing around. The only wire still on the cap is this one, which is number 3. So we know the order is 1342. Does it go this way or this way? I probably could have actually paid attention to that while I had the cap off, but I looked it up and it's counterclockwise. It does help that this one right here is labeled 1. I suppose it also helps that these wires just naturally fell into these locations. Reconnected the points wire to the coil here. We know it has power. It's coming from this jumble of wires that's powering everything else. So if my calculations are correct, it should just kind of fire up. Just hoping. It's just that easy. I worked the choke linkage to get it up on high idle. We'll see if that helps it continue to run. I don't think it's in gear or anything, so hopefully I won't die immediately. They like the water in the exhaust. All right, a little drink of fuel might be helpful. Or we can just choke it. With no cable, it falls open. Fine, be that way. Oh, God. All right, well, it's not happy, but it is running. I think that's the idle mixture screw, although it actually goes into an air bleed circuit. I messed with it a little bit. We'll see if that helps. Oh. Again! Why? Is that too much fuel? Can't be. It's being all grumpy. Doesn't really want to run on good gas. Or sometimes it does. I gotta investigate some stuff. How do you like this crappy exhaust repair? How do you like the fact that it's directly next to the fuel hose? It's preheating it for better atomization, I guess. More fuel. Okay, so it really doesn't want to stay running on what's in there. Not that that should come as any great surprise. It's probably half water. The generator light actually works. Oil light, not so much. I like that it flashes to tell you there's a problem. Okay, it runs. Don't think that fuel in that tank is any good, despite the fact that it kind of looks okay now. So we're gonna have to get some fresh fuel and empty that tank. Before that, we've got a little side quest to tend to. We'll get back to this. Cookie. It's the next day, and we're doing more forklift stuff. Like admiring the fact that this giant bar that runs through the middle of everything is the steering. Should probably rearrange this stuff here. It does help to explain the rub mark, doesn't it? Do not drink the forbidden Gatorade. There's some water in this still. So yeah, I guess our next move is pumping that tank all out. Glug glug. Smells okay. Ooh, what is that? Forbidden milk. Oh no. I don't think that filter is gonna work for long. Yeah, we're not flowing much here. Did not take long for stuff to stick to that magnet. So here I was cleaning out this filter again, and guess I overdid it with the air pressure, and it was kind of clogged, and well, it's not clogged anymore. It made this really cool pop sound. Taking bets now on how many filters we're gonna clog trying to clean the system out. Now the only question is, where did the rest of that filter body go? Might be in the next county over. Let's see how long it takes to clog that one. I did notice this rubber hose is right in the danger zone next to the V-belt back here. Okay. We did figure out how to unplug the fan. There's just an inline fuse holder right here. How do you like all this wiring? We've got wire nuts, we've got 3M snap locks, we've got butt splices, we got everything. Tried the big boy pump, it did not want to draw through the other one, so I guess we're just gonna do it the slow way. The pump was too slow. Now we're using the pressurized air method, which is working, but I think we've still only got like 1.5 gallons or 2 gallons out of it. Oh, just a few chunkies. There's something funny about this. We've got more than half a 5-gallon bucket out now. It's getting better and better. It's still pretty gross and there's a bit of water in there, but I happen to know that Flatheads kind of run on that stuff anyway. Cleaning this thing out again, obviously. I did notice, though the main jet was flowing some air through it when I would blow through the air bleed, it's like half clogged. So I'm trying to get that as clear as I can. I think the idle circuit pulls off of fuel under here. The only other feed in here at all is the accelerator pump one, which is still blowing fuel out the wrong way. Was I supposed to drop a screw in here? Yay! Evan's working on the fuel gauge sending unit float situation currently. The noise in the background is dremeling happening to make that thing actually fit our tank because the 5-screw pattern on that replacement they put in there was not right. It's not that we even care about a working gauge so much, but having the tank sealed would be nice. Hold on to your butts. Oh, how on the belt should the wiring be? It's alive! Stay. I said stay. Okay, well, it doesn't want to continue running, but that's something. Oh, I had put the idle screw all the way in. Still might not be doing much. Choke cable. It's really obnoxious and hard to pull, but it does work. Glug glug. We've got this plate mounted, which is important because the throttle pivot mounts off of that. Had to mess with the clutch linkage a little bit to get the plate to slide all the way in and still have a working pedal. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah, that actually works.
Almost works.
Pretty well. Maybe a zip tie here. Closing the hood. Nice. See what it do? You can hear the flutter in the choke going. See if it'll run part choke. Or if I can turn it off at all. Oh, Low range, I think, and that's reverse. A little bit of a noisy clutch. It almost moved. Nice. This feels very sketchy. Well, it kind of continues to run. It doesn't really idle, I don't think. But anyway, let's see what this do. Nice. And tilt. Maybe. There it goes. I think those lines were dry. No side shift, no deal. It's idling. Kinda. Just cold-blooded. Installating forks. They're not light. It will not come down with the weight of the forks and the headpiece there alone. Gonna have to lube all these chains. So fixed. Watch your toesies. Don't tell OSHA about any of this. It's entirely possible it was starting to get a bit hot. That hose felt warm, but the air coming off the fan certainly didn't. So we're adding some coolant. Half gallon in so far, nowhere near enough. Don't see it pouring out the bottom, but give it a bit. Wow, it's actually circulating coolant.
Warm, but not hot.
All right, that's something. Lubricated the secondary sliders a little bit. Now we're getting places. Just a little smoky at times. Now that we've got a working forklift, we've got to find it a job. Here's a job now. We've got to lift this 340 off the run stand to put it in the bed of my truck. I got to take that home and reseal it for McLovin. So much fun. Woo! Oh, maybe I should check the timing. Visibility is always really great running a forklift. Anyway, we'll try not to kill Tom. Had to bring it outside. It's too tall. Admire Evans' tow ball installation. This should make this not kill anybody. Needs more torques. Carefuling. Also watch your head. Do you need more up? Well, let me go up. I'm going up. There you go. Shouldn't be any weight on it. Doesn't seem like it bleeds off too fast. I'm gonna break my chrome socket, aren't I? Woo! Careful. Precious cargo. Remind me to not smash my own tailgate. Need a hand throttle for this bad boy. Pretty much forklift certified. Let's see if Tom wrecks the forklift immediately.
Too tall for this.
Clearly. Hey, don't hit the rampage or kill it. What did you do? Does it not crank in gear?
I think so.
I mean, that's smart. There you go. She's a little stinky. Hey, don't roll that thing. Home sweet home. It would have had an inside home, but it's like a foot too tall for this silly little door. Yep, it's a forklift. I don't know if anyone enjoyed that, but if you did, thanks, I guess. And remember, it's better to have lifted and lost than to have never forked at all. All right, back to big block land where everything's normal.